Welcome. Sandoval Communications presents video streaming of the August 2020 board meeting of Sandoval's HOA. The live stream is simulcast on Sandoval Communications' Facebook page, Sandoval Cape Coral, and on Sandoval's Neighbors Synergy page. Alternate viewing of this meeting is also available for your convenience 24/7 on the Sandoval Video Box channel, found on YouTube, and on Sandoval's website, www.livesandoval.com. Consider subscribing to Sandoval Video Box on YouTube by clicking both the subscribe button and bell to be notified of future meetings and presentations by Sandoval Communications. The meeting will begin shortly. Sandoval Communications thanks you for your participation by watching this meeting.
Is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we'll take call, and here with me in the room, Ron Spooner, Director Melanie Palmer, Director Don Wells, and at this time I'm going to ask you to please confirm proof of notice. Okay, perfect, thank you. And are there any residents on tonight's agenda topics? If so, we'll respond to those comments during that portion of the meeting.
So this one came in from Jerry Kern. It is my understanding the street paving contract is to be decided soon. Is there a list of approved projects expected to be completed? I know one issue in Somerville, but have not heard back from anyone as to whether or not we're including this in the project. The Somerville HOA has also been reaching out to various vendors to have our parking lots sealed. Several vendors have indicated they are bidding on the Sandoval street paving project, and we should coordinate timing with the vendor selected. Is it possible to have the contact person of the selected vendor provide to the Somerville HOA so we can proceed with our own needed repairs? If that info could be sent to me directly, it would greatly be appreciated. So Jerry, we will address that when we get to Ron, speaking of the pavers. The next one that came in at 12:46 will actually be addressing these questions in the next upcoming board meeting. And we'll put this as an agenda item for the next board meeting. With that, I'll go ahead and read what came in. And this one's from Alan G. And let's see. I'm going to start with the question. How is the board and property manager planning to address these issues? Where I continue to read on several social media platforms that our gates continue to get damaged by irresponsible residents and visitors. Tailgating has also been cited as an ongoing issue among other traffic violations that occur throughout the community on a daily, if not hourly basis. So the first question, are individuals receiving fines or loss of privileges? How much monies and fines and reimbursement costs has Sandoval received this year? How much are we awaiting payment for fines and repair reimbursement, and are we pursuing legal recourse? Can we as a community be periodically updated on the status of this in order that it can hopefully be a deterrent to others? So with that, we will again add this to the next board meeting as we put together some information. We'll need to coordinate with accounting. Some of these items we're already working on, but they'll be addressed with a full presentation back to you at the next board meeting.
Very good, thank you. Next, we have the approval of past meeting minutes. Does anyone on the board have any edits or corrections to the meeting minutes from Thursday, July 30th? Melanie?
I have a clarification. I don't think it's necessarily in the minutes, but I thought when we were going through that we were saying that the specific flags we identified could be at any time, that there wasn't a restriction of time.
We have the design review guidelines on the agenda for later, and we are going to ask them to revisit that issue. So it was my understanding that there was no limitation. They could fly their flags, but again, we're going to have the ARC revisit that issue in light of the Florida statute flag flying.
Right.
Okay.
There was just a lot of discussion.
Yes.
At that time, so it could have been.
Yeah, quite a few people brought it to our attention. Thank you. So is there a motion to approve the minutes? All right, Melanie, is there a second? All right, Ron is the second. So all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Bill Tubb, aye.
I think I only heard two. Who's the third?
Scott DeFilippis, aye.
Aye, okay, great. So the minutes are approved as distributed. Thank you. All right. So before I get started again, I'd like to welcome Casey to Sandoval as our general manager. She's hit the ground running. This is the first of her board meetings, and I'm sure it's the first of many to come, and it's virtual at that. So for the residents, you'll have opportunity to meet her as she's been out and about doing inspections and checking out the neighborhoods. So she's making a serious difference on our behalf, and I thank her for that. I know she's outlined a very informative general manager's report, which will be presented shortly. This now is a busy period with drafting the 2021 budget, and like last year, we hope to hold a budget workshop for residents. Again, it'll probably be held virtually in the near future for both board members and the general manager to work through the process. Last Thursday, we held a virtual town hall with management representatives from Down to Earth. We received a number of questions, comments, and photos from concerned residents for response by Down to Earth. Casey is well aware of the ongoing issues and is committed to holding Down to Earth to task in resolving these matters, as well as performing the scope of work outlined in the contract. Residents are reminded again that Down to Earth is available every Wednesday at 10 o'clock up at the Tiki Hut to raise your concerns or to meet with them, and that the Down to Earth landscaping work order can be easily found on the Sandoval Live website under the landscaping header. And this is the best method to contact the on-the-ground manager regarding any matters that you wish to identify. On Monday, August 31st, resident students will be returning to school, whether face-to-face or distant learning. Many resident college students have already made their way to school. We wish all students a successful and safe semester. Residents are reminded that these students are heading out in the early morning. They'll be walking to the various bus stops, designated bus stops near our gates, the pickup locations. So please be cautious approaching crosswalks and abide by the speed limits. Speeding continues to be an issue, and all are reminded to slow down and come to a complete stop at the stop signs and crosswalks. We do have good news. The Veterans Gate was completed today, and this is similar to the Pine Island gate system with the one gate swing operation. So this was in the works for a long time, and I think we need to thank Casey for helping us cross the finish line with getting that done. This fall, we look forward to the scheduled construction improvement project, noting that we'll need to pack up and clean out many areas within this facility, this building, and we are currently working on the preliminary plan and timeline to do that. We'll hear more from the construction committee in a few moments when Don gives the updates. So we have a very full agenda. I'm going to stop here. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. And I'll turn the floor over to Bill Tubb for the treasurer's report, please.
Okay. How are correct me if you can't hear me because I don't have my microphone on.
We hear you.
The July 20 financial highlights, July 31st, 2020 financials have been posted to our homeowners website for the homeowners review. A review of the HOA accounts receivable delinquency account reveals the following. At 6/30/20, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $78,596, of which $76,320 were over 90 days past due. As of July 31st, 2020, with the third quarter assessments having been assessed and due, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $116,864, of which $72,830 were over 90 days past due. Of that $72,830 of delinquent over 90-day delinquent accounts, $70,060 is owed by 12 of the most egregious late homeowners. That's 97% of the over 90-day total, and that's 61% of the total due balances. And of 1,425 homes, 12 people owe that 61% of the past due. So I believe the board should instruct our general manager to contact our attorney to identify more aggressive options to be taken against this dozen or so egregious non-payers. Next, two line items in the GL are concern me. Number 6700, CenturyLink owners. This line item is currently over its seven-month budget by $37,884. I believe I know the reason for this. I believe it's an accrual issue. They were booking it a month late before. In the month of May, they booked two, and in June, July, and now in August, we booked one. But the service period runs from July 19th until August 19th, and from August 19th to September 19th. So we're booking 30 days or 15 days worth of service in the prior month, and that would cause that $74,000 a month. So that would cause that $37,000 to be appropriate, but I believe it should be in an accrual account, not on our P&L. Next, line item number 5415, insurance liability, currently exceeds its total annual budget by $41,828. This continues to accrue at $13,657 per month, or an additional $110,000 by December 31st. This is unexpected. We were nominated in February 2020 budget fixed, and we were forced to find no, which is leading to of our over. So that's just something we're going to have to live with. The July 31st budgets, balances of the reserve fund, the telecommunications surplus fund, can be found in the financial statements presented on our website. And that concludes the treasurer's report.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Next, we'll have Casey now present the general manager's report, please.
Good evening, everyone. For the general manager's report for this board meeting, I will address the following: hurricane preparedness for amenities, staffing compliance, update, gate strikes update, safety and security. Hurricane preparedness, I held a staff preparedness meeting and kind of went over what typically happened in the past. It seems we'll need all hands on deck if we thought category 2+ to 3, so that's something I welcome feedback is coming as a direct hit. We would need to have around 10 to 15 volunteers to move all pool furniture and miscellaneous items inside. I would welcome you to email me if you're interested in that, and I can start at least a sheet with some contact information. I'd also ask if you're interested, this would be bringing in the pool furniture to the main hall room, all pool chairs, trash cans, dispensers, umbrellas, tables, any loose items around the Sandoval property, the American flag, put all the tables and chairs into the activities closet, check both dog parks, and put away all plastic doggy pools and loose chairs, which I would ask residents to pitch in if those are your personal items, to maybe grab those if we do, and then residents as well to prepare your home and bring in any items into your own home. Pool attendant station must be emptied out. All loose items, slide signs, chains, all go into the maintenance shop. We did add also on there the removal, thank you, Scott, for that. The removal of the playground sunshade will need to come down as well. Typically takes 10 to 15 residents volunteering as well as staff. 9 hours before landfall is the ideal, is what I've been told. So we'd like to just get some feedback for you. If there's anything that I've missed that you'd like to recommend, I'm open to hearing that. And then I'd love to start a list for volunteers. Anything else?
Come off and they drop arms.
Okay, so the gates come off, iron gates completely come off, so we'll have that added on to the checklist as well. Thank you.
And the drop-down bars.
And the bars. Okay. Let's see, staffing. We have Evelyn Ruiz, the former temp administrative coordinator, is no longer with the team. We'll have Yamali Babadia that will start on 8/31 this Monday as the new administrative coordinator. I realize there has been recent turnover. However, Yamali is dedicated, dependable, and professional. I feel she'll be long-term here. Megan, who is the maintenance grounds position, gave a 5-day notice. So we're working to fulfill that position as well as looking at different options as well. All the other positions are filled at this time. We've had numerous group staff meetings. They've gone really well. I've seen a lot of growth already in the current staff. And we're just working very hard to raise the bar of professionalism in the workplace and to just give the best service that we can. Compliance gate strike update. I've been working with Kelsey in her new position and to create a streamline, just kind of have her understand the big picture of this new position that she's in, processes for the multiple different types of notices that we've already sent out, that have already been sent out prior to us, follow-up, checks and balances of all those upcoming notices for hearings, and we have set a hearing date for mid-September. This will include gate strike notices for any past months, as well as any violations that we felt were pretty hard-lined violations that would move into the next hearing phase. Those notices would go out to those. So just kind of gauging friendly reminders, finding a good balance to these different violations that come up. So the hearing date is mid-September. After any hearing fines will be charged to accounts. We did not start completely over. We had Kelsey, like I just said, went over previous violations as well. Let's see, the Veterans Gate, we got that. So I'll move on to safety and security. We believe that the policies and procedures in place are for the safety of the entire community. We ask each resident to go on livesandoval.com and refresh themselves with the current rules and regulations in the handbook so that everyone's on the same page. There was some confusion about being allowed under the COVID restrictions or not, who's allowed at the pool area. Came up quite a bit with just staff having questions, and then residents, and that is familia status pertaining to the pool only, not the outdoor amenities. All rules and regulations under the handbook for outdoor amenities are still in place with no change at this time. We are concerned with residents allowing children riding the electrical scooters through the community and wanted to remind that this is not permitted within the community, and we ask that you go ahead and address that. We do love pets. However, we want you all to be mindful of each other and keep your dogs on leashes. We have had some situations that have come up with that as well to management. We ask that you pick up after your pet for the safety and well-being of others. Security has a copy of the current handbook. They have had any new staffing. The last 2 staff that have come in this evening, I went over the handbook with them. and then prior to that, as well as submitted it to their supervisor so that they're all on the same page with us as well. We want to make sure that the lake is free from swimmers, as there are dangerous wildlife in the lakes. Cute, I saw an otter, very cool in the lake, but it's still dangerous, so we ask that you support us and coach your children there, or adults, or whoever, residents period in general, just to be safe and stay out of those lakes. And that's pretty much it with the hurricane preparedness. So I thank you all, the board, for your support, and residents welcoming me. And it's been very encouraging, and I've enjoyed it, and working with the staff and you guys, so thank you.
Thank you. Welcome again, once again, on behalf of the entire board, welcome. So next we have the ad hoc committee reports, and I'm going to ask Don to tell us the latest on the clubhouse improvement project, please.
Yesterday morning, your 3 board members and the general manager met with the construction manager and his team in their Fort Myers office. At this meeting, the project manager was introduced to everyone, and the project officially moved from pre-construction to construction. Let me pause a moment and explain a couple of these terms. Construction manager is the firm who is actually in charge of building the building, and that is Mark Stevens and Stevens Construction. The project manager is one of his employees who's assigned specifically to this project. And there's a third person, which is called the superintendent, who will be on site in Sandoval every day during the construction project. So we have a construction manager, a project manager, and a superintendent. Moving along, the bids have been received from the contractors, and the project can be reported to be well within our budget. There is a built-in contingency of $100,000 for unexpected costs. The formal contract is being written currently, and it will include budget numbers for the project. I will ensure that this information is made available to all residents so that they will be able to evaluate and understand exactly how our money is being spent. Additionally, the project staging was discussed, which include preparing the old building for its renovation. We received a revised schedule for the construction, which contained great news. The renovation of our existing building is a 4-month process, and as soon as that renovation is complete, this building can be reopened for our occupancy. It is anticipated that that would be sometime in January of 2021. The new facility also has a new completion date. Instead of July, it has been moved up to mid-May of 2021. During construction, a fence will be placed on the perimeter of the construction site. Restrooms will be provided for the residents who utilize the outdoor amenities, as well as our office staff. The amenities surrounding the area will continue to remain open and can be utilized by our residents. This includes the pool, the playground, the basketball courts, and the bocce courts. LCEC will be on site next week to provide the needed power for the new building. We can expect to see activity beginning the last week of September. Construction is going to happen.
So it would be fully furnished May at that point? We would be...
Well, I would think that we would,
Just
as
setting
it gets closer.
expectations.
No, as we would be, we have in our approved clubhouse document $100,000 to purchase the equipment to, facilities with the tables, chairs, and things like that. And that'll be something that, with the staff will be working on as to what we need to do, and we can certainly get that lined up to hit the May timeframe.
Thank you.
Very good. That's it. All right, thank you so much. And I think the residents and all of us are pleased to hear that it's finally going to happen, right? So the next month we'll be busy.
Okay, thank you. On Tuesday, the 25th, I met with our council. We reviewed deadlines and also a timeline of what we can expect. I met with our litigation committee yesterday and reviewed the substance of the conversation with our council. We reviewed what our experts are currently doing and when we can give a more detailed update to the community, and we expect a significant development in the next month or two. So we will have a much more significant update for the community, I would say, in the next month or two. That's about it right now.
Okay, very good, thank you. And next we have the capital improvement projects. Al, I'll refer to you, please.
A couple of days ago, I went to the Cape Coral website to check on the status of our permits for the two parking lots, one of the tennis courts, and at Happy Claus. And I was hoping that I would see that those permits were closed out, but I was surprised to find out that that has not happened. We failed both of our inspections. At the tennis court, we failed because there are some balsam apples and some Brazilian peppers. I would imagine that those were already in the hedges at the time we began construction. However, we need to have those removed. At the dog park, two of the trees that were installed did not meet the specifications of the inspector, and so those are going to need to be replaced. As far as I could tell by reading the information that I saw online, both of the permits now have been extended until November 24th. It gives us about 3 months to get these things taken care of. Allison Johnson has been contacted. I've also been in touch with Jim Swigert, and he has contacted the city and also Avalon Engineering. Hopefully we can get these two permits closed out, and then we'll be totally done with those projects.
Okay, very good.
If I might add a little information to, in addition to what Al has just given us, in contacting Allison, she's gotten an estimate to replace those two trees, and it will be about $1,200 to $1,500. That project was authorized at $140,000, and we're at that limit. And if we're going to replace those trees, we need some authorization from the board to authorize an additional $1,500 to take care of this tree issue.
Well, this is Scott. The trees should have been put in. I don't know who put them in, but they should have been put in to meet the spec of the city. So it should have been the installer that didn't meet the intent of the code, and it should be incumbent upon the installer to pay for that, for putting inferior plants in that they should have known what the code was.
Scott, I'd like to talk to you offline on what happened with that. I think once I explain that to you, you'll understand.
Thank you.
So are we going to table this for now?
Well, you can't replace the trees until you approve it.
All right, so is there a motion?
I have a lot of confidence in Allison, and she says we need it.
Okay, so the motion then that Ron just tabled is to fund $1,500
I think that's more than adequate.
for the tree replacement or the tree movement. Are they replacing or they're moving?
These have to be taken out and new ones put in.
Taken out and new ones put in. All right, is there a second?
I would second that.
All right, so discussion? Bill, are you hearing this?
I am hearing this. I have one question. Were the trees put in during this project, or were they there previously and just needed to be removed?
No, they were newly installed, but they were not new purchases. They were trees that had been purchased and placed in Sandoval, and they were moved into this position. And the trees had a defective problem that the inspector saw that no one else had seen.
Okay.
If you'd like me to say what it is, I'll be glad to. They'd been topped. Someone had cut the top leader out of these trees. So when these trees were purchased, we purchased inferior trees.
Oh, goodness.
And so no one noticed that until the inspector came, and now once she's pointed out, you can see that those trees that were moved from another area, and I believe they came out of the dog park, we got defective trees at that time.
Okay.
No. At this point, let's get rid of them.
Okay.
Any warranty or anything? Were they cut subsequent, or they purchased, or we simply don't know?
Let me talk to you.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough.
All right, so Ron made the motion then to authorize funding of $1,500 to address the tree situation. Don seconded that motion. So if there's no further discussion, can we get a vote? Those in favor of funding as proposed? Aye.
Aye.
On the phone?
Scott, aye.
Bill Tubb, aye. Al, aye.
All right, so it's unanimous. Motion has passed. Thank you. All right. Al, is that all you had then for the capital improvement projects? Yes.
That's all I had.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, next on the agenda, management company, the request for proposal. Melanie?
Yes, so things are going along really well. We've been extremely productive. The committee continues to meet. Extensive amount of time being invested in reviewing each response in detail and ensuring we're all being consistent in the way we're evaluating various areas. We've basically prioritized our reviews, and we've gone through our first round, and now we'll start to go through a second level to create a costing matrix to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples in how various budgets have been presented. So everything's going really well. We're getting some really great responses and definitely some items to be considering in the future.
Very good. Thank you. And last for the ad hoc committee reports, Bill, the risk management committee?
Okay, we do have, we received from the insurance broker new loss runs for our general liability insurance. We got that after the settlement of a large claim that was filed in 2017. But there was no appreciable change because of the amount that they paid out equaled about what they had reserved previously. We did ask we will be asking our current carrier to come on site, do an inspection for us to look for potential risk opportunities where we can make corrections and lower our risk. So the insurance committee will be doing that. Also, we did in the last month renew our D&O insurance. We did go through another broker. We left the one who handled our previous general liability insurance renewal so effectively. We're very happy with the new broker. The policy is in place, and it is at no increase in premiums. And that's all we have for the insurance tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. I'd like to give just an update on the coronavirus initiatives. And at this time, we continue to remain operating under COVID restrictions and measures. This was the direction both the general manager and Pope received, the general manager and the board received by both Pope and our attorney to safeguard both residents and employees. To maintain safe operations, the clubhouse remains closed for social gatherings and activities. Additionally, traffic through the clubhouse enclosed area has been minimized. Appointments and masks are required to conduct all essential business with office staff. Social distancing is encouraged between employees and residents. The lagoon pool remains open under COVID restrictions of limited capacity at 50% or 90 people, and that is consistent. I verified yesterday with both the Cape Coral Yacht Club pool and Sunsplash. They're still operating at the 50% capacity, limited capacity. We also have the limited hours and the staff sanitizing the chairs, tables, handrails, the gates, and all touch points. Under these COVID restrictions, our standing committees as well as ad hoc committees are conducting ongoing business via virtual meetings with little disruption to the effort. The board has been proactive and effective in taking a safe and responsible approach to reopening community amenities and activities. We will continue to monitor and update actions accordingly. We appreciate your cooperation and continued support during this time. Thank you. All right, street paving. This is going to be a big issue for the board, and I'm going to ask Ron to address. And we have the 4 proposals now. It was on the agenda last month, and we followed up now and have the 4 bids in front of us. So Ron, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Okay. First, I'd like to separate the bids a bit. We received proposals for repair, replacement, for paving, and some concrete. And we also have proposals for sealing our roads. With regards to sealing, this cannot be done until after the paving repairs are done. This is a significant expense at roughly $165,000. Prior to us voting, I'd really like some cost-benefit analysis be done. How long will the sealant prolong the life of our roads? If the life of the roads are extended enough, it will pay for itself. How often do we need to reseal the roads? What additional benefits beyond aesthetics and prolonging the life of the roads are there? I would like to add that portion to the next board meeting, and hopefully at that time we'll have more detailed answers. But frankly, we cannot do this or consider doing this prior to doing the repairs. So I'd like to focus really on the paving replacement and repair. We've received 2 bids, one by SPS for $62,379 and one by Bonus for $76,237. Now both proposals do not include areas of Somerville Loop. Somerville Loop was included in the original request for proposals. I walked it myself. I identified 4 significant areas and asked them to walk it and identify any additional areas. I've requested them to update their bids. And so if we are going to allocate funding, I would request that we add an additional $20,000 to ensure that we take care of the areas on Somerville. As far as the locations for Somerville, there's some significant areas that are parallel to Sandoval Boulevard, the road that's parallel to Sandoval Boulevard that connects with Calypso. There are also some significant cracking and holes that need to be repaired around the loop itself. I'm going to be walking it. I did speak with Jerry Kern as a representative and asking him to identify any other areas. In addition to the $20,000, I think we should add at least a 10% contingency for when the pavers are here. There may be additional areas that need attention. I hope tonight that we can take a vote on this. I feel I've been patient. There are areas in this community that the roads are in significant disrepair, and we owe it to our residents to get this done expeditiously. So I would like the board to approve $97,000 plus at least a 10% contingency for a total of $107,000 to be taken from reserves for the replacement and repair of paving and concrete areas that are in need of repair. And I've opened the floor to discussion.
So we're going to need
We need a motion.
We
need a second.
Right.
Well, that's the motion.
So the motion was the $97,000
Right.
plus 10% contingency for a total of $107,000.
Plus at least 10% contingency. I'd like to discuss that when we discuss the motion.
And out of reserves.
And it would come out of reserves.
For the replacement and repair.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion was made by Ron. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay, Don seconded. And discussion.
Your motion.
So you're first with the discussion.
Well, I just want to make sure that nothing holds up us doing all the repairs that we need and getting the best price. So that's why I'm raising, I'm stating a 10% contingency and asking the board to discuss whether they think that is sufficient or not. Because a large cost of this is having the equipment out here. And I've walked the roads, I've met with the vendors, and I met with Bonus, and I literally went through every single road. But that's me, and I would like to give others an opportunity to do that also. and hence the need for a contingency. But once they're out here, I would like to be able to make sure we get everything done that we need to get done.
Are you recommending one company over the other?
No. Right now, they both are putting 1.5 inches of asphalt. It appears to be apples to apples. So I would recommend us going with the lowest price, frankly. They're both quality companies. I have no association, and I believe no one on this board has any conflicts whatsoever with either of these companies. And if you do, speak up. But there are portions that will need to be clarified in the contract. For instance, all written orders must be in writing, and certain aspects of the contract that need to be negotiated. So I would like a little bit of flexibility there, but as long as they're agreeable to that, I would certainly recommend us going with the least expensive company.
Then that would be $90,000.
Correct.
That's why I was asking the question.
Fair enough.
And,
Fair enough.
You know, and I don't think that if you wanted to say 95, then you would have enough to, I would amend your motion from the 107 to a 95.
And the caveat with, I haven't got a formal proposal on Somerville. The 20,000 was a guesstimate. So a little asterisk
So would it be
on that.
appropriate to use 100?
I think that would be fair, frankly, and that's why I used the higher number, just to add a little comfort.
And the 20,000 was included in what you said initially, the 97.
Well, if it's
Correct.
62 plus
Right,
20 is
62 plus 20,
82,
yeah.
plus 10% is 90.
They did include, they included, on this, exactly right. So our proposal for sealing the roads includes all of Somerville also. But just unfortunately, they didn't add the areas that we previously identified.
All right. Any other discussion points? Don, you were second.
I had mine.
Okay, Melanie. On the phone, anybody have comments or any discussion points you want to raise regarding?
I just have some clarification points because the audio is not that great. So, Ron, if you could just clarify that this proposal is for phases 1, 2, and 3 inclusive?
1 and 2.
Well, there weren't any areas in phase 3 that were identified and needing asphalt repair. We recently, in the past year, went out there and had all the concrete repair work done. And we did review the condition of the roads before letting Taylor Morrison off the hook on that. So we're not ignoring phase 3. There just haven't been any areas that were identified that were required to be in the proposals.
Okay, perfect. And that was my concern since we had just done that, but you just identified that. Then my other question would be, is this inclusive of just taking care of the areas identified in need of repair, not seal coating the remaining areas, correct?
Correct. This is not including seal coating. I think that we need to really do a close cost-benefit analysis on that because it's a much larger expense and a bit more discretionary. But in terms of what we're doing, we're not, in the past there was some cold patch filling, there was some isolated repair, there are some significant issues in a number of cul-de-sacs, for instance, Wynwood, Somerville, Belleville, that we're not going to just cut up the road. We are going to literally cut the front of the cul-de-sac and repave the entire thing. So hence the replacement. So that portion of it will impact our reserve because the life of that will be extended beyond our reserve deadlines. So hence it is an appropriate reserve item. There will be a few other items of repair that are patched but will be done with the original paving equipment. And those we have identified and hence we have a 10% contingency in case we do find something else.
Okay, perfect, thank you. But I think once you look into that seal coating, you're going to find the cost benefit is definitely going to be worth it, and it will extend the life of the existing roads that are in good condition.
You know, that's my feeling also. A number of very well-managed communities have their roads sealed. A number of commercial centers have their roads sealed because the asphalt breaks down and the dust on the road is literally the disintegration of the asphalt, and you only have 1.5 inches of asphalt on there. So it doesn't take long for these roads to degrade. There are also aesthetic values. We have a lot of hydraulic fluid that's constantly from these trucks. That's dangerous, slippery. There are, and so we have to constantly go out there or request Waste Pro to come out there and fix it. So there's some practical components of this also, and I hope that we can really delve into them in the next board meeting.
I might suggest that if any board member, as Scott is alluding, has some experience or some references for that, please bring it to the attention of all of us.
Please.
Indeed, indeed. All right, any other discussion points, Al or Bill?
This is Bill Tubb. Ron, I'd like to ask that you, this is Bill Tubb. I would like to ask Ron to amend his motion to state that it would be funded from reserves. I don't think I heard that in the motion.
I did include that, but you know what? I'll say that portion louder, especially for you, Bill, all right? So I'm amending my motion to say, with an exclamation mark, that it will be funded from the reserves.
And you want to change the amount?
And we're going to change the amount from
107.
From 107 to 110. Is that fair?
Yes.
Because we were going to do a flat 100,000 and then a 10% contingency, which will give us 110,000.
With the addition of Somerville.
And that's inclusive of Somerville. Yes, thank you. Do you need me to clean that up? Or are we good? Okay, thank you.
And again, for the replacement and repair.
Replacement and the repair. And that also includes some areas of cracked sidewalks. Not sidewalks, cracked curbing.
Curbing.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So is there a, yes?
The amounts, sorry. The amounts that were amended. Instead of the 97 and 107.
It'll be 110.
It'll be 110. 110,000 funded from reserves, inclusive of Somerville. All right, is there a second? Don again, okay, thank you. All right, so if no further discussion, those in favor of the motion is outlined, the 110,000 funded from reserves, inclusive of Somerville, for the replacement and repair of the paving. If we can do the vote now. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
On the phone?
Bill Tubb, aye.
Yep.
Scott Olympus, aye.
Al, aye.
All right, so unanimous again, 7. The motion has passed, so the motion is approved. Thank you. Good job, Ron. All right, next on the agenda, we have the design review guidelines. The ARC committee works with the design review guidelines, and it is published on the website, but there is a need for the ARC to actually review the design review guidelines to clean it up. Edits and typos and some corrections are required. So at this time, I'm asking the board to give direction to the ARC to go ahead, proceed with that cleanup, if you will. And also, as Melanie raised earlier in the conversation tonight, the need to revisit that flag issue with the U.S. Armed Forces flags being flown. As written now, it says that they can be flown on those 6 holidays that are identified, but that is contrary to what the Florida statute provides for flying of the U.S. flag with the U.S. Armed Forces flag, with no limitation to specific holidays as outlined in our design review guideline. So if the board is in agreement, I'd like to make the motion that we give the direction to the ARC to revisit both the design review guidelines to edit and clean up the guidelines, and to revisit the flag, what was it, section, what was the section again? I forgot now. It was rule number 14. Rule number 14 in the design review guidelines. And to come back to us next month on the board with their proposal, the specific language regarding that Rule 14, and ensure that we're compliant with the Florida statute. Which,
For discussion.
yes. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, this ARC committee is not a group of attorneys. You're talking about Florida statutes. You're talking about one particular statute. there may be conflicting statutes in other places or limitations in other places. I believe anything to do with that flag needs to go to our attorney and give us an opinion on it.
This is becoming
I'm not our attorney, but I'm okay with sending this out for a legal opinion if it's necessary. I do believe we have the authority to here and now say that military flags can be flown without limitation, and I'm prepared personally to say yes. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but if we are unanimous in that, it's much easier to give a broad directive. When I say broad, all-encompassing, so there's no legal opinion needed, but the directive in terms of the specific language to the ARC committee to say we need to make sure our handbook reflects that these specific flags can be flown without limitation.
All right, and that's
Well, in reading that statute, it says they may be flown regardless of HOA documents that may be in place. So clearly the statute anticipates that there would be limitations in specific HOA documents. So I think our documents are probably fine. That's what I want the attorney to tell us, that the document doesn't need to change, but they can fly it regardless of what the document says.
Well, I always think that our documents should reflect, number one, our legal requirements, and also what the will is of the community. And
Right.
we've been elected by the community. I really think that we should state our positions on this to see if we can just add clarity and help the ARC committee avoid some convoluted discussion that brings in legal expenses. Because frankly, if we say there's no limitation in terms of flying these specific flags, there's no need for a legal opinion because it's broad enough. So if we can state a position here and give some directive tonight, we will avoid some expenses and be consistent with the broadest interpretation of the statute. Are we in a position to move forward stating that these flags can be flown without limitation? I'll state yes.
okay. So the motion then, Ron, you're going to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that these specific flags identified in section 720-3042A of the Florida Homeowners Association Act be allowed to be shown without limitation, and that our homeowners guide
Reflects the same. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Melanie.
This is Scott. I'll second it.
All right, Scott, you seconded? You broke up.
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good. So any discussion, any further discussion?
So just for clarity,
For clarity, yes. Go
we're
ahead.
saying that the flags listed here, anytime. We're just taking away the restriction of when,
So it's the U.S. flag
the ones that we
coupled with the Armed Forces flags, which currently now include the space agency's flag. And as previously approved by the board last month, the law enforcement and those special designated first responder flags that were identified and included in the communication to the residents as well as in the design review guidelines.
Okay.
And the POW and the POW MIA. Thank you. Yes.
Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion?
Then the Florida flag is not allowed, correct?
Sounds to me like that's correct.
Well, it also
That's the way I
states the
understand it.
United States flag and the official flag of the state of Florida.
Yeah.
So that would be inclusive.
The state of Florida flag would be included. The U.S. flag, the state of Florida flag, and the U.S. Armed Forces flags, which now include the space agency, as well as the POW MIA flag, and then the police and first responder flags that we approved at the meeting last week, can be flown every day, no limitation, as previously identified in the guidance we outlined with the 6 national holidays.
I would like to amend the motion in terms of the size. I think that makes sense. And it's specifically listed in the statute, 4.5 feet by 6 feet, no larger.
What, 4.5 by what?
4.5 by 6 feet.
4.5 by 6
So
feet.
it doesn't have to be that exact size. It can be smaller.
Not
but
to exceed. Not to exceed. Okay. So,
Am I correct? This does not include flag poles that they can put up. These are from temporary brackets attached to the house. Is that correct?
Now, there are flagpoles in this neighborhood.
no, the design review guidelines does provide for flagpoles. This just says, I think this statute just says displayed. I don't think it specifies.
Displayed.
It just says display.
So someone can put up 7 flagpoles and fly 7 flags 365 days a year.
I don't, would have to look at the statute.
Yeah.
Does it specify polls in there? I don't have it in front of me. Prior to that,
That's why I wanted a legal opinion.
Well,
Well,
legal opinion's not going to tell you that.
I don't think, I think this is just a plain reading of our documents. This is an interpretation of a state statute. We'll look at our documents, and if we need to add specificity to it, we can do that, and that's part of our recommendation to the board.
Okay.
I would think 1 flagpole per
Yeah, and we can
Limited
add,
home. I mean, how big
and
are
there's
these
no
lots?
limitation. We have discretion in terms of flagpoles, so we can state 1 flagpole.
that's where the Florida statute supersedes until, if you can't contradict it, but you can absolutely put guidelines if it's
Absolutely.
not specified. So I think it's very easy of saying 1 each. Choose your flag each day. You want to rotate
Or
that.
put multiple up on the
They
same
can buddy
flagpole.
up.
Right. I think 1 flagpole per
Okay.
lot would certainly be reasonable.
Do you want me to add that to my motion?
Yes. Yes,
Do I need to restate this? Or?
because we have to be clear. There was a lot of
would've
comments
thought?
raised. No, there was a lot of confusion.
Yeah, but you know, clear rules help everybody. They help
Absolutely.
us and they help our residents. And that I've noticed that the biggest issue we've had, even with deed restriction, is a lack of clarity. We want to help our residents be
Yeah.
able to comply.
All right, so you're going to restate your motion?
Okay.
Ooh, this phone.
I would like to make a motion to allow, without limitation, the United States flag, the state of Florida flag, military flags, including United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Agency, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and the POW MIA flag, and also
Police and first responders.
the police and first responders flag. That do not exceed the size of 4.5 feet by 6 feet, and limited by only 1 flagpole
One from the house.
in front of the house.
Oh, no, they
just
can have
one
one coming from the house.
Attached to the
and
garage.
And a pole,
Okay,
1 each.
1 freestanding.
1 pole and 1 attached to
And
the
one attached to the house.
house or the garage.
We'll get this done.
Try it again.
Okay. All right, is there,
Can you restate that, Kathy? Ron was breaking up and I could not hear it.
basically, the motion was to allow for a U.S. flag coupled with a Florida flag or an armed forces flag, which includes the
All branches of
all
service.
branches of
Just say all
service,
branches of service. You don't have to keep going.
as well as the new space service, the
It's a branch of
POW MIA flag, and the or a police or first responder flag, not to exceed 4.5 feet by 6 feet, and limited to 1 flagpole, and or attached to the house or garage.
So they would be limited to 2 flags on 1 flagpole at any one time?
No. No, you can have multiple flags on the flagpole, but we're saying 1 freestanding flagpole and 1 affixed flagpole to the house.
So attached to the house, 1, or the flagpole, 1 in front of the house. But you can fly multiple flags on the flagpole.
So if I wanted to, I could put 6 flags on one flagpole.
Dawn had said one flag at a time.
The U.S. flag
on the
with
pole?
one. I think it says in the thing that it's one flag. It's limited to the U.S. flag and one of the 6 armed forces, according to this.
One portable and one, so it's 2 flags.
Yeah, so the U.S. flag and one of the armed forces flags, Florida flag, POW MIA flag, or the police or first responder flags. The U.S. flag plus one of those other categories. They'll all be spelled out in the new direction guidance we put out, and there'll be photocopies included of the flags that are authorized and allowed.
Okay, I was just looking for clarity.
Okay, no, that's helpful. That's what we're trying to do
And I
here.
have to just ask, because I thought in the last meeting there was some discussion on the different types of police flags. There are some residents that have blue, some residents
Right.
have black. I'm not stating any position, but I just want to make sure we have clarity on that, what is included, and if it's any different from the previous instruction that we provided.
Well, there were samples provided, or what we were referring to were provided in the guidance that we put out to the residents, as well as included in the design review guidelines.
Has that guidance changed here tonight?
The Florida flag.
The Florida flag.
The Florida flag was added.
Okay.
That's the only change.
Yeah, but these police, that hadn't changed.
No.
Fire.
And then we'll send an update around, I'm sure, we'll send an update to the community
Yes.
as to what flags are permissible.
Yeah, we'll work with the communications committee once the ARC has the language.
Excellent.
I have seen a few within the community of the 9/11 flags. Are
Okay, you
those-
got to speak up. I can't hear with this.
There are a few 9/11 flags in the community. Are those excluded?
Yes.
They would be excluded.
Yeah, the ARC, I specifically asked that question, and they said that this is the guidance that's provided in the statute, and if you open it up further,
There's plenty of options.
Okay.
it's too much.
Okay.
So, okay.
That's okay.
All right. So we have the motion. Was there a second after I repeated it, what Ron had said? Don't make me repeat it again.
Second.
A second? Melanie? All right. So if no further discussion, those in favor of the motion to include the revision as we outlined and to provide the ARC with direction to do the cleanup of the design review guidelines, the typos, the edits, the punctuation, please say aye. Those in favor say aye.
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 One.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So it's unanimous. The 7 ayes have it. The motion has passed. Ron made the motion initially, and Don seconded. Well, Melanie seconded the first time. All right. Thank you. So now we're looking at if there's any additional agenda items. I'm soliciting any additional agenda items anybody wants to raise. On the phone?
This is Bill. At the last board meeting, I brought up the Covenants Committee and that Molly Knotts had requested to be on that committee. And we were going to find out how many people were on it currently and was there a vacancy. It's my understanding there are 4 people on it and they have no chair at this time. Is that correct?
Al?
That's my understanding.
Then I'd like to nominate Molly Knotts to be on that committee, and with 5, it couldn't be a tie vote.
All right, so why don't you make a motion and we'll vote on it.
Okay, I'm moving that we add Molly Knotts to the Covenants Committee.
Second.
And Al seconded. Okay, I heard you. Any discussion? Anybody? All right, if no discussion, then those in favor of the motion to name Molly Knotts to the Covenants Committee, say aye, please.
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Scott, aye.
All right, so again, 7 unanimous. The ayes have it. Al seconded. All right, is there any other topic or issue anybody wants to raise? a solicitation again for an added item? Anybody? All right. If no, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Don motions to adjourn. Melanie seconded it. And we'll move now to the open forum. And I'll ask our general manager if there were any resident comments for the open forum. I don't think there were. There were just the two you had. Yeah, those were the agenda items, but no additional open item. No. Okay, great. All right, so the meeting then is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.